The last few years have been especially hard on people. A pandemic, social unrest, political discords, not to mention everyday things like illness or job loss.
In his latest book, Life is Hard, How Philosophy Can Help Us Find Our Way, MIT professor Kiran Setia explores ways to cope using ancient wisdom from great philosophers like Plato and Aristotle. And Professor joins us live this morning. Good morning.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Well, it's nice to have you. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the show, but usually during this hour, we're showing bear video and weird food trends from across the world. So we're going to try and get a little serious this morning.
We're talking Plato and Aristotle, Dan.
That's right. So when you think of philosophy, obviously that's a huge category. Tell us about the focus of this book.
This is a book about how to live a good life, how to live well in conditions that are always difficult, how to face up to life's hardships rather than idealize them away or pretend that they're not really there. And it's about making the best of what can be a bad lot rather than pretending to have the kind of perfect life that we dream of but know isn't realistic.
And you talk about acknowledgement coming first in this whole process. What do you mean by that?
Well, here's an experience a lot of people have had where you go to someone with a problem and they immediately switch into what I call assurance advice mode. They tell you, it's all going to be fine. Here's what to do. And it's not really comforting. It feels like they're not really acknowledging what you're going through. And that's what we need, I think, first when we deal with difficulties in other people's lives or our own, is to have the patience to sit with what's difficult. And that's not just consoling in itself. It's a way of forging solidarity. Often if you sit with a problem and really try to describe what's happening, that is the better part of knowing what to do. It really orients you to how to feel and how to make a difference. So I think that's the first step in dealing with hardships for ourselves and for others, is to really listen. And
that relates to another point that you're making. You write, don't try to be happy. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not that happiness is a bad thing or that we should try to be unhappy, but that happiness is sort of a state of mind. It's about how you feel. And what we should really be aiming for is to live well, to live good lives that are not just about how we feel, but how we're engaged with the world. Philosophers sometimes illustrate this with kooky thought experiments. So they'll imagine you plugged into a simulation where you're the only person plugged into the virtual reality. You don't know it's fake, and you're fed a course of experience that might be wonderful. So you feel happy, you're happy, but you're not actually living a good life. You're not really living much of a life at all. I mean, you wouldn't sort of wish it on people you love to just plug in and never experience a real interaction ever again. And what that tells us is that the state of mind of happiness is one thing, but living a good life involves engaging with reality and facing up to reality. We have to live in the world as it is, not the world as we wish it would be. And if we try to live a good life, try to treat ourselves and other people as we should, happiness may come as a side effect of that. We may feel good about it, but that's not the primary goal of life.
And I think that relates to what you say about valuing the process, whether your end goal being happiness or even weight loss, let's say, something like that. It's not always about that end goal from what you're saying.
No, that's exactly right. I think we tend to invest too much in projects like having the perfect Christmas or, getting Christmas dinner on the table even.
Yeah.
And projects like
challenge.
those things matter. But the problem with projects is you're always aiming at something in the future. So there's the frustration that you're not there yet. You're worried about whether it's going to work out. And then the moment you've done it, well, that's over. It's in the past. And as a result, the present can feel empty. And it's worse than that. It's not just empty. When you try to complete a project like that, you try to get something done, it's as if you're taking something that's meaningful and trying to finish it, complete it, sort of get it out of your life. And I think we need to take a breath in those moments and appreciate the process of what we're doing. I think it's this problem with projects that they're always future directed or archived in the past that underlies the really deep truth in the idea that we need to value and appreciate the journey, the ongoing process of, say, being with friends and family, not just all the things we do and the presents we get and the meal on the table.
Another element of this book here that I found interesting here, you write, do one thing to fight injustice.
Well, I think often when we watch the news, we can feel overwhelmed by the stream of terrible things happening in the world and feel very powerless about them. So there's a way in which we can feel guilty and unhappy ourselves. And I think it's right to feel angry and unhappy about the injustice of the world. And we're not wrong that our power is limited. But I think it's really important to see that having limited power doesn't mean having no power. Like, the biggest difference here is the difference between doing nothing and doing something. And doing something is never just about what you as an individual do. It's about finding collectives. So, voting is the largest scale collective action, but there are always collectives on a smaller scale at work or at school or in the town you live in, where you can get together with other people and try to make a positive difference. And even those small steps really matter. It's those small steps that really add up to transformative change in the world.
Oh, Daniel, do you feel smarter now?
I do. This has been a very enlightening segment. Professor, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Again, the book is called Life is Hard, How Philosophy Can Help Us Find Our Way. For more, check out Kieran on social media and his 5 Questions podcast. Kieran, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.